But anyways, let's see how the V6 feels. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we'll be going over the all-new 2022 Jeep Grand Cherokee Trailhawk. First and foremost, so a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Jeep Chrysler here in Sandy, Utah for giving me some time with this Grand Cherokee. This one is available for sale for the time being, so if you're interested, I'm going to include a link to their inventory in the description down below. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below as well. Let's get into the video. Under the hood, we have a naturally aspirated 3.6 liter V6 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Power outputs are about 295 horsepower and then 260 pound-feet of torque, with fuel economy being 19 around town and then 26 on the highway. So let's go to the front end of the Trailhawk. So first off, you have the gigantic Trailhawk decal here. Notice this says Trailhawk there off to the side. We've got the gray Jeep logo with the red outlining, and then notice here how we have the amber daytime rain light, which looks really cool. It's kind of like an off-roader thing with the LED headlights. Got the fog light down below. We got our aggressive red tow hooks here on the front end to signify this is the Trailhawk package. And by the way, with the thumbnail that you guys saw on this video, that was with this in full ride height, and then also with the sway bar disconnected. And so like, it obviously looks pretty cool and pretty aggressive, but just so you guys kind of like have a reference points for what that thumbnail was all about and why I chose that thumbnail for the video. Anyways, that's the front end. Now, coming around the side here, we've got 265mm tires wrapped around 18-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear as well. And of course, the wheels have that cool off-roader style on them. And if you look close, you can see a little old school Jeep there on the wheel. Now this does come with air suspension, and when the air suspension is fully raised up, we have 11.3 inches of ground clearance in an SUV like this, which is crazy. I know it's a Jeep, but like, this is a unibody SUV with independent front and rear suspension. It has that much ground clearance. Pretty crazy. Notice here with the tires, they're actually pretty dang aggressive. I did take not the Trailhawk package, but an Overland with the off-road group, which is basically Trailhawk off-road, and I can tell you that the tires work pretty dang well. And then notice here with the fender flares, and then you got the Grand Cherokee badge right there, again with the red trail rated badge. And then notice how the roof is all blacked out, so it has this cool kind of like two-tone design. And yeah, with the air suspension all the way up, it looks super aggressive. So here is the key fob. You can see we've got the unlock function, the lock function, remote start, and then the opening here for the hatch. We're gonna press that a couple times, and bada bing, bada boom, pops right open. So you can see, just like other Grand Cherokees, we've got tons of storage space here in the rear. And then if we lift this up, you can see the spare tire underneath. And yeah, other than that, it's just super practical in the back. And if you need even more space, you can just fold down the seats. And then when you're all done, you can press this to lower it down. Also, you got a 12 volt right there. But there you go. Now let's finish things up with the rest of the rear. So you guys can see here with the LED tail lamps, and then notice how it continues into this black trim piece, and you got the Jeep logo there in the very center. 4x4 badge off the side. We've got our Trailhawk badge here on the other side. And then notice we've got our red recovery hook here in the rear. Parking sensors in the rear as well. And notice that there's no visible exhaust tips. That is to help out with the departure angle. I almost said anger for some reason. I guess I'm angry because it's very hot and sunny outside today. Anyways, there's the rear. Now here's the door panel on the back of the Trailhawk. You can see here with the darker trim at the top, and then notice the silver trim down below that. And then notice here with the padding, got the red stitching, which looks really cool. Little window control right there. And then here are the seats, which this is my favorite part about the Trailhawk package. I love these inserts here. It just looks really cool. Again, you got the red stitching. And getting in with this in the off-road 2 height, it's actually not difficult. So you imagine with the lower heights, it's gonna be even easier. Anyways, legroom, headroom. You got a little storage pocket right here. Vents for the rear passengers, and then we got all of our charging ports down below, heated seats as well, and we have our cup holder armrest set up. Let's head to the front. Now here is the front door panel. You guys can see again with the darker trim, then notice the silver trim there on the top. We do have memory seats, blind spot monitoring for the mirrors, and then notice here with the trim down below, all of our window controls, and then you can see with the mirror adjustment, the mirrors do power fold in, and speaker for the Alpine sound system. And then here are the front seats. Love the little Trailhawk badge right there. Notice again with the inserts there on the seats. Power adjustments on the side. Pedal layout down below, and then you can see here with the light controls, and let's pop in. So here is the steering wheel for the Trailhawk. You guys can see here with the padding all around, and then notice with the red stitching there, another Trailhawk badge, of course, and the same trim you have on the door panels. This does have adaptive cruise controls, as well as regular cruise control. Radio controls in the back, paddle shifters as well. Controls for the center stack, phone controls, turn signal stock, windshield wiper stock, and there's the steering wheel. Now here is the center gauge cluster. It's a full digital gauge cluster. As you can see, there's some different menus you can scroll through here with the gauge cluster. And this is very important, pitch and roll. If you're gonna take this off-road, then you can see if the sway bar is connected or not. And yeah, overall, definitely a cool looking gauge cluster. Now we do have some different drive modes. We actually have a sport mode, believe it or not, even though this is an off-roader. We also have the auto, snow, sand, mud, and then rock for the different drive modes. And basically for like the rock crawl mode, for example, you do have to go into 4-wheel low. I'll show you how to do that in just a moment, but there's the drive modes. Here's our center infotainment system. First off at the top, we have our auto stop start, lane departure, stability control, hazard lights, and then the parking sensors. And then as for the screen itself, you guys can see here, we've got the backup camera with trajectory lines that turn with the steering wheel. And notice we've got the forward camera as well that also has the trajectory lines for the tires. Looks really cool if you ask me. Zoom function on that camera. Now as for the rest of the infotainment system, shortcut bar here at the bottom. Response time with the screen is pretty dang good. It does take a second for certain functions to load up on the screen, but overall I think that Jeep did a great job with it. Notice we got our dual zone climate controls that you can control on the infotainment system as well. So down below we have our analog controls for the radio and for the heated and cooled seats, also for the dual zone climate controls, and then you have to press that down to access a bunch of like charging ports and all that fun stuff. It's a nice piece of black trim. And then you guys can see here with the drive mode select, and then we also have the gear selector for the transmission, our 4-wheel low, and then our air suspension to adjust that. And then notice here with our off-road cruise control, and then the sway bar disconnect. So with the sway bar disconnect, you press the button and you can kind of feel something rumble under you and it disconnects. Pretty easy on that. Now for 4-wheel low, you put it in neutral and then you just hold this down and it's in 4-wheel low. It is that quick. So if I want to go out of 4-wheel low, stay in neutral, hold that down, and then sway bar disconnect, hold it down for a second, reconnects. Like, it's a very quick and seamless system, so it makes off-roading pretty accessible, if you ask me. Notice here with the cup holders, and then you can see with the center console set up, notice here with the padding and the stitching on that, and then look at the dash as well, with all the red stitching, and then with the glove box. And then, finishing things up top, you guys can see here we got controls for like the hatch, for example, and then just a darker colored headliner. So here's our winter sticker for the Trailhawk, base MSRP $54,235. This has the 22J package. After that, destination and the 10-inch display. This sticker's for $57,645. Let's drive it. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's your visibility over the hood. Both the mirrors, we do have blind spot monitoring. And then throughout the rest of the rear. And let's set off. So we are setting off here in the Trailhawk, which it has been a long time coming. This is, well, my favorite package on the Grand Cherokee. If you guys couldn't tell, because I just love off-roaders. I don't care what they are. If they have an off-road package on them, I am all about them. So first off, with the air suspension and this new Grand Cherokee, it is such a comfortable ride. Like, it's full-on luxury car. It really is. Jeep's done an amazing job just with the suspension on this, and obviously it has the off-road practicality side of things where you can raise it up to the off-road too and have tons of ground clearance and just tackle pretty much everything out there. Now, other than that, steering is just like every other Grand Cherokee. And you guys probably noticed with the front end how it's kind of sloped. That's a big part of the reason why this does have better ground clearance and better approach angle compared to other packages on the Grand Cherokee. Like that Overland that I took off-road that had the off-road group didn't have the same front end, and so it, you know, would bottom out sooner than something like the Trailhawk package. And obviously having the skid plate protection underneath also helps out quite a bit. Seat comfort's really good. I really like this type of seat because even though this is a black interior, the center portion stays pretty neutral temperature wise. It doesn't heat up. Like fake leather or real leather will heat up quite a bit in the sun, whereas like inserts like that will stay, like I said, pretty neutral from a temperature perspective. Cabin insulation is also really solid, and there's just something that's cool about off-roaders like this, that like, even though most people never take this off-road, just like knowing that you can do some crazy stuff with the Grand Cherokee, I don't know, it definitely has an appeal to it, that is for sure. Yeah, V6 is decently torquey. We'll pop it into the sport mode. This is actually the Grand Cherokee that a lot of journalists got a hold of, is the V6. But you know, with the Trailhawk package, what a lot of people want to see though is a Hemi or a 4xe. And you know, once I am able to get my hands on one of those, I will definitely review one for you guys. But anyways, let's see how the V6 feels. Yeah, it's solid, that's for sure. I've driven all three powertrains with the Grand Cherokee, the Hemi, and the 4xe, and here's what I have to say, is the V6, you know, from a daily driver perspective, is great. It's more than enough power. It has everything that you'd want. That being said though, at high elevation, the powertrain that feels the best is the 4xe because it's turbocharged, and it has the, you know, electrification, right? So it just is so fast. It is ridiculously fast. The Hemi is a nice in between, and that one obviously is the tried and true powertrain. That one will get the worst fuel economy, but it's gonna last forever, and it's got a punch. This V6 is also actually really reliable. The 4xe we'll just have to see, right? It hasn't been out for long enough for us to really know at this point. But yeah, summing things up with the Trailhawk, I am very impressed with this package. I took an Overland with the Off-Road Group Off-Road, and the stuff that this can handle is absolutely shocking. Like, seriously, it is just, it's a true off-roader. It really is. And so, just, yeah, I'm really impressed with what Jeep has done with this whole setup in terms of just making it a super capable off-roader. And this is gonna be a fun part of the video because it was put up on this little rock ledge thing, and we're going to put it back on the rock ledge thing. So we're actually going to show you guys some off-roading today so we can get it back in its place. So you gotta remember, 4-wheel low, hold it down, okay, and then we'll put the air suspension all the way up, and then disconnect the sway bar. You can feel it, like if you have the brake held down, you can feel the sway bar disconnect under your foot. It is such a strange experience. But you know, obviously this is the best demonstration that I can give you guys. So we're gonna go to the vehicle page and then forward facing camera. I'm just gonna back up a little bit so I can get a better angle. So now I'm in the off-road 2 setting. Then you guys can see here with the forward facing camera, we got this little group of rocks here that we're gonna climb up onto. It's nothing hardcore. Now I want to see how this does with 2-pedal driving. Look at that. Boom. Super easy. Yeah, 2-pedal driving on this is really easy with the new Grand Cherokee. I know that wasn't like super, like, we're driving up a couple rocks, but still, I got to show you guys the whole system and everything, and there you go. Let me know what you guys think here about the new Grand Cherokee Trailhawk. So there's not much to see underneath, but what you guys can kind of see here with the lean, how it's not leaned that much, even though it's on a little rock pile, that's the benefit of the sway bar disconnect, is it's going to give you a little bit more articulation. And so even though this is on this little rock pile, the Grand Cherokee is almost completely level, whereas if it wasn't disconnected, if it was connected, we'd be leaning a bit more to the side. That's gonna sum things up for our video on this Grand Cherokee Trailhawk. Again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Jeep Chrysler here in Sandy, Utah for giving me some time with this Trailhawk. Check out the inventory in the description down below. I will see you